Why are there so many different religions in our world? In fact, there's many religions as there are candy bars in the grocery aisle of your local store. So the question is, as humanity, what is it in us that desires to know the divine, that desires to be something more than the physical fleshly beings that we are? What is it in us that makes us want to seek God or gods? And how do we know amidst all of this confusion that there is a real God, or there are gods, or which God is the right God to worship? I will come to you as somebody who believes in the God of the Bible, and I will use it as a foil to show you why there are so many religions and how there's only one religious faith that is different than every single world religion in the world. So I want to ask you, what do you think makes a religion right? Is it the claims? Is it the prophets? Is it because it's followed by billions of people? I would say the biggest claim that a religion is right is based whether it's based on facts and reality, and whether the writings of these religions match historical facts, and whether the claimants or the adherers to the religion can actually prove that the prophet or the God of those religions exists. Now, skeptics point to the existence of so many religions and say that we can't know there is a God, or that he doesn't even exist, because atheists and agnostics would say if there was a God and he did exist, then he would prove himself right now, right here, and over the thousands of years of human history. And in the book of Romans, in biblical Christianity, it says that actually everybody does know there is a God. Almost everybody in the world, 98% of humanity throughout history and today, has believed in some sort of God and divine being. So there is something to this, rather than just an imagination of evolved pond scum who became monkeys, who became Neanderthals, and then became Homo sapiens that are just trying to figure out why we are here on Earth. There is something to the fact that people are religions. And I would postulate that most people reject the truth that there is an absolute being that created everything, and that he demands absolute perfection from all of us, because people want to seek their own way. And this leads for humanity to fulfill their own desires by creating their own ways to get to God in their own thoughts, and also guided by supernatural beings that guide them away from the real absolute God that really does exist. This is the basis of why there's so many different religions in the world. Everybody does believe in some sort of God, almost everybody, but they want to follow their own way and become their own gods. And this could be demonstrated in different ways. Even an atheist doesn't believe in God is their own God. They are the determinant of their own morality and their own destiny, and they will determine what happens to them in this life and the next. Now let's switch to what other religions believe. Islam is about submission. The name Islam means to submit, or to adhere to the will of Allah. In Islam, you are living most of your life in fear and condemnation that if you don't obey the Quran, the Hadith, and the teachings of Muhammad, and you don't be a good Muslim, you might end up in hellfire forever. And in Islam, everyone is trying to do good works. They're trying to do their prayers. They're trying to do their religious rites. They're trying to fast. They're trying to please God. But in Islam, no one really knows whether Allah is going to judge them based on their good works, and whether they're going to go to paradise or whether they're going to go to hellfire. Everyone's kind of living in fear, and hopefully, unless you're a martyr who kills himself for Allah, hopefully they end up in heaven. Islam is a very fear-based religion that's based on a claim of a prophet that contradicted another religion, Christianity, to say that Jesus wasn't God, and thus the religion of Islam was born. Hinduism is about millions of gods, and each family in Hinduism has their own gods that they worship. And these gods, they need to be pleased. They need to do things to please those gods. In Hinduism, there's a belief in karma and reincarnation, that if you are born into a different class or the wrong class, you can never leave that class. You are always stuck in that same financial or physical or spiritual situation, because you have to earn your way out of that karma by doing more good karma. And so each life that you're reborn, you're doing a process of trying to be a better person, but you don't know whether you were reborn in the previous life. Somebody else has to tell you that you were a princess or a prince or a king or a pauper in a previous life. But those are not people that are telling you. Those are supernatural beings that show people in Hinduism visions, if they even see a vision of them being in some sort of past life. But how do we trust that? How do we trust people who say that they've seen visions of themselves being reincarnated? Because it's not based on reality and on foundational historical facts, as I will describe in another religion. Buddhism denies there's a personal creator God. In Buddhism, it was basically a deviation from Hinduism, because Buddha did not accept the Veda scriptures and did not accept reincarnation. He believed in something called nirvana, where you will achieve enlightenment, where you will gain enough knowledge and enough understanding about who you are. You will go into yourself and you will meditate and then discover that you are a spiritual being and that you don't need the material fleshly world. You can actually overcome your fleshly desires by really hard trying to do the right things and meditating really hard and trying to disassociate yourself from a physical reality that causes pain and death. But again, Buddhism does not deal with reality and historical fact. Even if there was a historical person named Buddha, he did not claim to be the way. He actually didn't know the way. He said he was a way, but he never actually offered any solution to the problems of the world that we face today. The next religion is Judaism. Is basically Christianity 1.0. If Christianity is the fulfillment of Judaism was before Christianity. Now in Judaism, it says there's one God, eternal creator being, who created the heavens and the earth, and that the universe began at a certain point, which fits with scientific evidence based on what Einstein discovered and scientists back in the early 20th century. So Judaism does say that there is an eternal God who is very holy, very righteous, and very separate from humanity, and that he cannot see sin in his presence. So the only way that this God can be known is by being righteous and holy, being cleansed of your sin. And the way to do that is to do sacrifices, is to have an animal sacrifice that covers your sin, that will allow you to stand in God's presence. But where Judaism fails is Judaism is about you trying to achieve goodness with God by fulfilling the 10 commandments. Yet all of us have broken the 10 commandments. So in reality, God can't accept you because you actually are an imperfect sacrifice. And so you either need a temple like the Jews had, which they don't have anymore, or you need animal sacrifices. But nobody to this day does that anymore. In Judaism, you're left also in limbo and without hope, because you're hoping that God lets you into heaven based on your good works. But again, like Islam, it is based on your good works, and you are not sure whether your sins are truly forgiven. Now, I want to go to the next point. Many human beings don't want to believe in God that demands righteousness and morality. So they invent a God that has little or no such requirements. Many people want to believe in a God that allows them to earn their way into heaven. This God or these gods accept people into heaven if they complete certain steps or followed certain rules. Many people want to believe in a God that is a mystical force as well, rather than a personal ruler. This would apply to sub-religions behind Buddhism, other religions that I didn't go into because there are so many. So the existence of so many religions isn't a demonstration that God doesn't exist. Rather, it demonstrates the rejection of a absolute universal truth that there is some sort of God that we are not understanding or we're not seeking. All these gods that I talked about before are designed in our own image and our morality, including the mythological Greek and Roman gods. And it all depends on culture, our own history, and our day-to-day feelings. But only one religion or one path separates itself from every other religion in the world. No matter how many religions you name, there's only one faith or belief system that separates itself from every one. And that is the faith of Christianity, which is found in the person, a historical person of Jesus Christ. Out of all the religious figures in historical time and space, Jesus was the only one who claimed to be the eternal creator of Judaism, not just a god from Greek or Roman mythology, or not just a prophet, not just a way, Buddha claimed, but Jesus was the only one that dealt with the darkness of each human heart, regardless of how religious that person was or is. Jesus gave up his physical human life, claiming to be God in the spirit, to become a physical substitute for our physical corruption and our sinful human condition, which has caused separation and confusion away from the one true eternal being that Jesus claimed to represent. Next point. Why is Christianity different from every other world religion? In the midst of all these world religions, how can we know that Jesus was actually different than every single religion in the world? Let me tell you this. The truth of Christianity stands and falls on whether Christ really rose from the dead, a physical resurrection, which is preposterous to a lot of different religions or to atheists and agnostics. Unlike other religions that are based on philosophy or claims of visions from their prophets, like Joseph Smith in Mormonism, Muhammad in Islam, there was nobody else to verify these visions. Jesus Christ didn't just claim to be God, but he actually was known by hundreds and thousands of people in historical Israel back 2,000 years ago, and he revealed himself in physical time and space and claimed and performed miraculous divine healings of resurrecting people, healing people from sicknesses, healing people from their blindness, healing people from their muteness, casting out evil spiritual beings from human beings. And even his enemies did not deny that he wasn't some sort of sage that did miracles. Even his enemies admitted that after he died, and even during his life too in the Bible. So Jesus is not just somebody that somebody else made up just to deceive billions of people in the world. Many atheists who are mythicists claim that Jesus was a made-up figure. People like Richard Carrier and some people on YouTube like MythVision, who doesn't believe that Jesus is a myth anymore, but still there is people that believe that Jesus might have not existed because he's too amazing of a figure to be invented. But on its face, that claim is proven to be very fallacious and historically preposterous, even by the most secular historians who know that Jesus Christ was a real Jewish wise man and somebody who was a Jewish prophet who told people wise things and who died on a physical cross. Christianity is not just a religion or doing the right moral things like every other religion is about. If Jesus didn't actually rise physically from the dead in physical time and space, then neither are we as human beings have any hope of the afterlife, or we're not going to rise back from the dead and have new bodies in a new heaven and new earth. Or if he didn't physically rise from the dead, then our bad deeds that deserve punishment, they have no hope of forgiveness through any so-called God of any other religion. No other religion is actually in the same ballpark as Christianity. They're two different worlds. The evidence of other religions is either non-existent because it's based on visions that you can't prove, or they don't come close to any historical facts, like the Bible itself has over 25,000 artifacts that prove the historicity and the claims of the Bible, with cities and certain events that happened that have been found. Also, according to Christianity, good people are not saved because our standard of goodness is completely wrong. Other religions say, try hard to be a more religious or a more better person. Christianity, on the other hand, says, you can't be a more religious or more moral person and get to God. You actually have to humble yourself and say that you are a total sinner and you're totally lost and you can't save yourself. And that is the only way that God can save you. Let's say you believe in other gods as you're watching this video. What standards would he or they judge you from? Will this God or these gods judge you from your moral principles that you have for yourself, but that you fail to uphold daily? Will this God or gods judge you for your secret lies, for your secret thefts, for cursing people out in your heart, for other secret lusts and sexual perversions that you would never tell anybody, not even your wife, your husband, or your closest friends, or your family? Religion teaches us that if we just keep the standards externally and fulfill the rules, we're going to be okay. Meaning that internal life is, no one will really know about it, so you can be a hypocrite as much as you want. Not every religion says that, but a lot of people don't have transformed hearts just because they are externally look very religious. Religions teach us that if we just keep the standards and fulfill the rules, we're going to make it to the afterlife. But that is not so when it comes to Jesus Christ and Christianity. In the Bible, Jesus Christ shocked even leaders of Judaism. He shocked them because he said that they could never keep the rules perfectly, and that the religious leaders themselves were like whitewashed tombs. They were the hypocrites of the day. Jesus came to show that the Ten Commandments, or the moral law that was given to the Jews, was actually to show us how good you are, not to show how good you are or to show to others how externally righteous you are. In every other religion, it is based on hard work and morality, keeping your morality as correct as much as possible, and meditative practices, or balancing your chakras, like in New Age and Hinduism, and then chanting endless prayers that gets you to become more divine or to reach the Godhead. Yet in Christianity, that was actually the original lie. In Christianity, it says that the serpent, or the devil, or Satan, a spirit that rebelled against God in heaven, a different dimension, actually says that as a lie to people, that they can attain godhood if they do this certain thing or do that certain thing. Christianity is the other way around. You don't get into heaven by trying harder or keep more rules. Because in reality is that you and I are not perfect, and we can't even live up to our own standards, like I mentioned before. It actually depends all on Jesus Christ, who lived the perfect moral life and kept all of the perfect moral standards, or the Ten Commandments, God's divine law for humanity. And if we put our faith in his righteous life and his righteous death and his physical resurrection, that will actually get us free access into heaven and forgiveness for all sins, past, present, and future. And because of that, we can actually have complete access to God because of his grace, which is undeserved favor, not because we earned our way into heaven. In Christianity, we aren't pointing to a certain prophet, but Joseph Smith or Muhammad, or even to Moses. We're not pointing to prophets, we're pointing to God. That's what Christianity teaches. Every other religion points to a prophet or a guru that tells you to do some hard work or keep the rules or the prophet's holy book rules to earn heaven. Christianity teaches the opposite. Instead of working your way up to God, creating a spiritual ladder, God is the one who creates that ladder. God puts on human flesh, he becomes just like us, and then he enters into our world from a different dimension, from the spiritual dimension, and he suffers and dies in our place, physical time and space, so that we could have an eternal relationship with God, physically and spiritually. So God is the one who does the hard work and saves us and reaches down to us to find us. God is the one who builds the ladder to heaven instead of us building the ladder to heaven through our good deeds. The reason Christ is so different from any other world religion is because it's not about you doing good deeds or obeying him out of fear like in Islam. you actually fall in love with God. You fall in love with Jesus Christ and what he did for you on the cross, because you realize that it's his love and his mercy and grace that actually takes away all your shame and your guilt and all of your wicked sins that you would never tell anybody in 1,000 years. It is because of the great gracious love of God that was poured out for you, a sinner deserving hell, is why you fall in love with God. It's not because you're trying to keep certain rules like every other religion, but it's because you know that you can't keep any rule. You have to throw yourself on the mercy of the only God that actually died for your sins. So in conclusion, do all religions lead to God? I'm going to answer it and say yes in some sense, but no in the ultimate sense. In one sense, they lead you to the false god of this world, and that is Satan, as I previously mentioned. He is the ultimate counterfeiter, and he is supremely jealous of God's position as sovereign Lord of the universe in heaven and on earth. But in another sense, all religions don't lead us to God because they don't lead us to the one true God. All religious people, or even non-religious people like atheists, agnostics, will stand before the eternal creator one day. So in a way, every religious person will meet God, but it's not the God that they thought they worshipped. It is the God of the Bible, and it is Jesus Christ, for whom they will have to give an account of their lives. So if this video helps you in any way, I pray that it helps you understand the difference between every other world religion, why they exist, and why Jesus Christ and biblical Christianity, not the religion of Christianity that was designed to make you keep the rules and go to church and pray certain times a day and read the Bible, but a relationship with Christ. I hope that helps you understand that knowing Jesus is knowing God, and that it doesn't depend on your good works or being a good person, just like every other religion says. If you like this video, please comment below and let me know what you think about this. Do you think all religions lead to God? Or do you think there is no true religion? Or do you think Jesus Christ stands out from every other world religion? And was he right when he said in John 14:6 that I am the way, the truth, and the life? May God richly bless you.